to the space. So, just want to get right into it. This event is produced by MH and Artisans Asylum in cooperation. And we are sponsored by SparkFun, ShopBot, Mass Development, and Cognizant. Thank you all so much. I'd like to give a round of applause for our sponsors. A little bit about what's going on. All right, let's try it again. A little bit about what's going on. We have 22 speakers. We have 184 participants from 25 states. So half of America is here somehow. We have Canada, Israel, and Guatemala represented. Could our international visitors stand up, please? And can we applaud them? How awesome is that? Thank you guys. We have 8 universities, 4 libraries, 2 high schools, and over 100 different groups represented here. So I'm incredibly excited. The next couple days are going to be awesome. They're going to be long. They're going to be like 14 to 16-hour days, but that's fine. We do it once a year. It's okay. All right. So I want to introduce you to Artisans Asylum. I want to talk to you a little bit about our journey and why we've realized that this needs to happen everywhere. Okay, so if you'll bear with us real quick, we will soon transition to Dale, but I want to just introduce you to your hosts. So, who we are. We are a 40,000 square foot makerspace. We have machining, welding, wood, sewing, bicycle repair, electronics assembly, silk screening, glass and jewelry, and more coming. We have 270 members or thereabouts, 140 rental studios or more, 20 to 25 classes a month, and currently we are getting around $1 million a year in income to maintain the space. So pretty heavy duty stuff. But what I'm going to show you is that it actually started from a very, very small seed. So this is possible everywhere, is our belief. So we were founded in May of 2010. We started with $40,000 in personal loans to me to buy stuff. So this was very modest, very small amount of equipment, weighed a lot, but wasn't actually that many tools. We thought we'd be happy with 1,000 square feet with 10 to 20 people participating, and then 100 people showed up to the opening party. So we kind of rethought things. There was a nearby makerspace that was going out of business that had a 9,000 square foot space, and they said, "Do you want this?" And we said, "That's a little bit of a jump, but okay, why not?" So May of 2010, we looked like this. I kid you not. This was our room. It was 1,000 square feet, and these were the tools, and you will still see all of them in the space. In less beautiful condition than this, but these were the main tools placed in the space. And then June of 2010, we started the lease on the 9,000 square foot space on Joy Street, and it looked like this, and it was empty. Well, this was after hundreds of hours of cleaning, but it looked like that. And then a year or so passed, and it looked like this. It was jam-packed. There was art on the walls. This is a wood shop. This is our social area. Thankfully, the couch you see in here is now the trash. And it was just 9,000 square feet of awesome. And it was overflowing. It was all volunteer run, and everybody was really tired. So what we decided was the only way we were going to stay open, because it was all volunteer run and because everybody was really tired, so we actually needed full-time staff. We needed it to not be the efforts of a bunch of people part-time after work when they're tired. It needed to be the full-time job of like 3 or 4 people. So we decided to move here. We basically took our business plan and we said, what's the easiest way to make sustainable income? And we said, well, if we give people rental studios, and they move in a couple 100 pounds of stuff, they're probably not going to leave, and they're probably going to pay their dues. So we decided to just crank the dials on renter studios and transform this from a giant collection of tools with a couple people having studio space on the side to a giant village with some tools on the side that everybody's excited about and everyone's excited to participate in. So This was a year and a half ago. There was nothing. There was nothing until November 4th of last year. These are our shops. Aren't they beautiful? They're pristine, so well vacuumed and broomed. Now, we cannot put a picture in any, or we cannot put a camera in any one place and take a picture of the whole shop. I apologize. We're 40,000 square feet. We have the start of it was this, and then we tacked on this, and then we tacked on this. This is our latest edition. This went online. Many of you maybe walked through and saw the giant robot leg hanging from a gantry. Yeah, so that space is the entire size of our first year operation. We added it on as an afterthought. How many months ago? August. There was nothing in that space as of August of last year. It is now with Giant Leg, with however many rental studios there are, soon to have our machine shop. We're moving the machine shop there, opening up the welding studios. Anyway, yeah, this is us. We have to put cameras in the rafters to get good views of the space. In 2.5 years, we've had 190 volunteers, many of which are still with us, 140 instructors, 6,000 hours or more of volunteer service, 435 classes. Right? Like 1,800 students, 2,000 people on the mailing list. We have a almost 50-50 gender ratio. Pretty freaking cool. We've collected $1.2 million in revenue thus far. We're a nonprofit, by the way. Projects in the space, $300,000 on Kickstarter, $3 million in venture capital, all in 2.5 years. This is intense. Let me show you what we do. Here's what we do. We teach classes. You guys are hopefully all familiar. We teach them vocationally. We teach engineering. We teach design. We teach just fun. Silk screening, electronics, metalworking. We do events. We arm the children of Somerville every year with mini marshmallow guns. And last year we sold 400 mini marshmallow guns at the What the Fluff Festival. And started small gang wars roving the streets. We carved pumpkins with chainsaws. That's a lot of fun. That suit was never the same. This was us on television carving with chainsaws. We built giant rubber ducks. These are boats. We took them out on the Charles, and we watched the 4th of July fireworks from farther away than we'd like, but that's the Department of, or that's the Coast Guard's doing, not ours. This was us. The amoeba of rafts was not our doing, but they came along for the ride. We have a DIY Christmas Santa, or DIY Secret Santa, yes. We make all sorts of weird gifts for each other. We played in the snow a year or two ago. We had a flash mob descend on Union Square, and we built lots of cool snow sculptures. We have art everywhere. We have art in the Greenway in Boston. It used to be where I-93 went through the center of town before it got shoved underground. And we found out in November when we opened this place at this size, over 50% of the artists who are making art on the Greenway were in our building. So, pretty cool stuff. We make giant robots. I don't know if you guys know, but we're making a 4,000-pound robot called Stompy, 18 feet wide. We do a lot of stuff, and what we've realized is that it's not like we're drawing from all of Massachusetts. Over half of our members come from within a mile radius of this place, okay? That's crazy. That's one city, and we're doing all of this cool stuff, right? That should be everywhere. There's no reason why this stuff should just be here. So, hopefully, over the next couple days, that's what we're going to do. We're going to arm all you guys with everything that we've done wrong, and most of the things we've done right. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we're doing everything right. Please, God, no, don't take that message away. We've done terrible, terrible things that you should never have to do. And we brought in people who've done them way better, so you'll get to learn about good processes instead of terrible ones. But we've also done a lot of things right, and we're hoping that we'll be able to pass that on. So I'm going to turn it over to Dale, who is who is running Maker Media Incorporated, the national group running Make Magazine, Maker Fair, everything that's promoting the DIY culture in America. This guy.
Thank you, everyone. It's really great to be here. I think last summer I visited Artisans Asylum and really started talking to Guy about wouldn't it be cool if we could share the knowledge of how this place came into being with so many other people. So, well, we don't need slides. Oh, I need to press play. That might help. But there we go. A little button. Just a preamble. When I started Make, I was working on a series of books that were called Hacks. And my original idea for Make Magazine was Hacks Magazine. But I went one day to my kids and I said, hey, I'm thinking of a magazine, it's Hacks. And they go, And I go, no, hacks is a good word. It's cool. People hack things. They're going to hack the world. They're going to hack their cars. And I later came across the word make. And it's actually the second book that O'Reilly published was called Managing Projects with Make. So it was a little internal pun in my head, but I wanted to have a magazine about projects. And so if we move forward here, almost 3 years ago, I wanted to, the word hackerspace was widely used, and I started using makerspace as a word, particularly because I was interested in getting makerspaces into schools, and I didn't want to kind of fight the semantics of hackerspaces and hacks. And I got the domain makerspace.com. I thought, well, I'll just kind of start using it this way. And lo and behold, people have begun using that word more widely for any kind of space. But we were today at MIT Fab Lab, and it doesn't really matter what we call these things. It's really more a matter what they are and what they do. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. As Guy mentioned, just a little bit of news on my end that we announced last week that Make has spun out of O'Reilly to be its own independent company, and I think that's a really... It's a big deal for me, and I think allows us to kind of, I think, go in our own direction a bit. It's been an amazing ride so far, but many of us, including myself, feel we're just getting started. So tonight, I want to start with actually the Boston Marathon, since I'm in Boston. But I've been looking for ways to understand the growth of the maker movement and things like Maker Fair, and I just started studying different things. And today there are more marathoners than there have ever been, which, if you think about it, is pretty amazing. Marathoning is hard. It's not something you just wish yourself to be a marathoner. I've never run a marathon, but I presume it's you have to get out there and just do it. If you look at this, the Boston Marathon is over 120 years old. For most of its history, about 40 to 50 people ran the marathon. The big spike is its anniversary in the mid-90s. But, it's 20 to 25,000 people running the marathon. I mean, they began managing and cutting it off. And if you think Boston's an exception, there's Berlin. 1974, 286. By 2009, they have over 40,000 people. So why does it take off like that? What happens? I mean, there's sort of cultural reasons, there's personal reasons. But I think one of the reasons it does take off is because of amateurs. That there are more amateurs running the race. In some ways, it started as amateurs. There were no prizes. But I like this picture because in the beginning, these are the people that hope to win the race. These are people that just hope to finish. Right? And finishing just means I've improved my time, or I ran with friends. I mean, it's very serious and meaningful to them, but it's a different mindset. So I think when we look at making, and then it's sort of realize everybody's not doing it for the same reason. They have their own reasons. And that's really what's so fascinating. The reasons are so rich and different. Some people want to start a business. Some people have plenty of work to do with their business. They're looking for something to do on the side that's fun and interesting. So that's one of the lessons. But I also did a timeline of the marathon. And I think this is kind of, it doesn't exactly apply, but, they have 1,000 marathoners in the early 70s. They begin allowing women to run the race. By 2009, there are 10,000 women running the Boston Marathon. There are other things that change and allow that to grow. And again, I'm interested in how do we get more people on to this. And the other thing I kind of studied a bit was, what really made this possible was that the formation of clubs and running, track clubs began reaching out and offering training to people. So you didn't necessarily have to say, I'm a marathoner, I was born to be a marathoner. You could just show up and say, do you think I could run a marathon? And they say, if you want to train, you can do it. And it's a difference in attitude. But this is a training site, but they begin figuring out how to on-ramp people into marathoning. And it doesn't mean that they're going to run the fastest race. It simply means they're going to finish, they hope. And so there's some lessons from that. I think in terms of participation, events offer us deadlines, whether it's the Ducky Race or Maker Faire. It gives us a reason to just do something and get it done. But it was also the spread of marathons. It wasn't just the Boston Marathon that became popular. There were over 1,200 large marathons. And of course we know all these fun runs, half marathons, and even formal ways of training. But, the recognition and reputation that you participated and you developed from that is extremely important. So I just use that as a background for us, because what interests me, again, is here we are at a time when I think making looks like the early days of the Boston Marathon. There's just, literally, we're 100 people here. We're a relatively small group of people. But I think what's happening is making is going mainstream. It's positioned to really impact culture, innovation, and education, and it potentially can involve everyone. If you just look at our growth around Maker Faire here, our first one was in 2006. We had about 22,000 people. We began introducing the mini Maker Fairs, and now we project this year about 85 Maker Fairs, and the number of people going to a Maker Faire that I don't organize is going larger than the ones I do organize. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but it is a good thing in terms of it's really been a kind of attractor for people that sort of get this on a fun level. And I think where I guess my main point tonight is I see that maker spaces are an on-ramp to the maker movement. They provide, like that track club, a place where you can go and learn how to do it. You find people that welcome you, and you find people that help you and that can help train you. Again, I like the marathon example because making is hard. We're used to using technologies. We're consumers of technology. Relatively speaking, that's easy. Making is another level. But it's possible. And all of you, I think, are demonstrating that. So as we look at maker spaces today, this is a mission statement, a mission chart from MakerWorks in Ann Arbor. Where's Dale? Dale Grover? There he is in the back. You could talk to him about it, but he and his partner Tom Root started a space which I think is very similar in nature to Artisans Asylum. And I think, they see themselves as having a triple mission. One is to serve makers, and that includes hobbyists and people learning, and also people that are starting a business or running a business out of their space, but also students in education. And, innovation, education, solving problems. I would like to believe that all maker spaces do this. Some articulate it more clearly than others, but I think the maker spaces that I think will emerge do have these different dimensions to them and aspects to your mission. The other thing that is fascinating, this is an idea from Eric Ries of the minimal viable startup, is like, I think what we're learning is like, what is a minimal viable makerspace? If you're here trying to figure that out, it's really what allows you to get started and open the doors and start working with people. It isn't about how much technology you have. It's actually probably how much community you have and how much support you have. And it's not necessarily dollars only. I think the beauty of a space often is that people do seem to get it when they walk in. When you tell them about it, they kind of glaze over a bit. When they walk in, they see the potential here. And I'm just thinking this, how many rooms are there, how many buildings are there in America that are about this empty, right? And they used to be something, they used to make things there. And the idea that we could occupy those buildings and make them productive is really fascinating. So the second idea here is, I think if you start small, you want to be as visible to the community as possible. You should really be telling your story and making sure you're not just a closed, secret society. You have to be as visible to the community. I think that's why maker fairs are important. That's why working with other organizations is important to reach more people. And kind of the last thing is, I was preparing for this talk, and on Twitter someone asked me, it's actually Tara Tiger Brown from LA Makerspace, said, hey, do you know any software for managing membership? Is there any open source software for that? And I thought, that's kind of interesting. There probably is or should be. But I think we could start thinking that there's a common infrastructure behind makerspaces, that some of these things don't need to be reinvented each time. And whether that's a business or an open source project, just recruitment and outreach tools, membership management, purchasing and inventory management. I mean, these are, and some areas I work with in schools, it's really difficult. There's no, you're working on a spreadsheet here. Events management, insurance and compliance, and even commerce. And by that I mean sort of people make things here and they want to sell them because they're a way that, you can help them do that. So that's just something maybe in some of your groups to think about, is what are the things that we can share across lots of spaces. They don't necessarily make your space. They're not proprietary or unique to your space. And then another thing that I'm really fascinated on is building networks of local communities of making. This is a chart we started working on. Red is, you can't see it from the back, I'm sure, but these are museums, libraries, high schools, community centers, and then also in red or yellow and green are maker fairs, other mini maker fairs. But I have this idea that we really are trying to network local communities. There needs to be a maker fair. There needs to be maker spaces in libraries, in high schools, in science centers. We don't need just one. We need lots of. I was fascinated by your 50% of your membership is within a mile of this facility. That's exactly right. And think of that for kids. It has to be maybe a half mile. It has to be even closer and more proximate to where they are. But we see kind of the coasts have a lot, but it's pretty infrequent in the Midwest and other places. And this is working from a directory that we have on our site, but hackerspace.org has more of them. But I'm trying to really, it sort of goes to the next stage, trying to sort of get a survey of what's out there, who has the space. And I sent out a survey last Friday to a group, and I'm going to share some preliminary results. I really would like to to do this like annually is have a survey of makerspaces and collect data, and so we can kind of look at what's happening and how many of them there are. So this only reflects about 35, and I said it's preliminary, but I'll go with some of these ideas. And I'd say half of the reason for presenting it, there's the train, is get your feedback. What should we be asking? What should we be looking at? So this is the average size of makerspaces. This is under 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, and 14% are over 10,000 the space. So somewhat kind of an even distribution there. This is about membership. Is membership required? 36%. Membership or daily usage fee required. No membership required, but donations appreciated. So kind of freemium or something like that. And then 13% is required for 24/7 access. So members who have a card. Again, I may not have asked it completely the right way, but I'm trying to figure out how many have membership models or various things. This is the number of members in a makerspace. So 21% have less than 20 members, and 35% have 60 or more members. Okay, membership isn't always the same in all places, and they do fluctuate, but it does kind of give you an idea of some distribution there. I asked, are you a for-profit or non-profit? The bulk, 64%, are non-profits. About 17% are for-profits. And this is kind of interesting. This is 4%. It's just, we probably have a space, but we haven't put an organization together at all. And it sort of gets me, like, one of the things that I find myself when I'm visiting makerspaces, and I'm sure it'll get talked about here a lot, is governance. It's like, how is this organization run? And if there's a board of directors, has that turned over? Do you have the same president you had since the beginning? Those are signs that there are multiple owners of that makerspace. The organization owns it, not just an individual. This is scheduling. The dark green is a variable schedule. It means we're open sometimes, not others. This is Monday through Saturday, but most are open 7 days a week. So, something to look at there. And this is our classes required. I was trying to ask some information about safety. Like, do you require people to take a class in operating a dangerous piece of equipment or not? So 33% say no, but there's some that have some kind of aptitude test to tell whether you can do that or not. And then this is actually from a different survey that we did of sort of the makers. I'm trying to figure out, and we probably didn't use the right terms here, but we saw a difference between avocational or hobbyist makers and professional makers. That avocational makers are still working out of their garage by and large, or a spare room, or a kitchen in the dining room, or a basement. I mean, they're going to populate the house, and I would bet there are some people that use all four spaces. That's the dirty room, the clean room, and such. But relatively small are identified, just on a national level with using a designated or collaborative space. Whereas designated space, which could mean outside the house somewhere, is the top result for professional people. So people who, are doing this for a living, what we call maker pros sometimes. So that's some of the survey results, and I'm just kind of throwing them out there. I'll put them up on our blog. You can see them. I don't know. They're just directional. They're not necessarily like fully representative. I don't want to get an argument so like, you're missing all these things. Yeah, of course. But I will try to, if you haven't filled out the survey, I can get the link to you to do that. One example. This is the Dallas Makerspace, which I visited last year, and there's about 80 members. And they had, the usual features, but they had an automotive room, they had a craft room, they had a wet lab. But I tell you, the thing that inspires me in visiting spaces is really the new things that I see, the things that, just really are very innovative and things that